Hi, this is Derica Fomasili, and welcome back to the Happiness Recipe Summit, where top experts are revealing their secret ingredients with you so you can create your own recipe for happiness. And today's vital ingredient is all about herbs to support our immunity and health and happiness. So this is a very important topic today. I'm excited to speak with our top expert today, and her name is Robin Rose Bennett. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Derica. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Thank you. She is a storyteller, writer, and herbalist. She has been offering classes in wise woman healing ways, herbal medicine, and earth spirit teaching since 1986.
There you go.
Yeah. At different herb conferences, festivals, clinics, medical and nursing schools, and most joyously, outside with the plants. She shares herbal medicine with gratitude for the loving generosity of the plants and the magic and mystery and beauty of the web of life. She is on the faculty of the New York Open Center and the Arbor Vitae School of Traditional Herbalism, and is the author of 2 meditation CDs and 2 books. The first book is Healing Magic, a Green Witch Guidebook to Conscious Living. The second is The Gift of Healing Herbs, Plant Medicines and Home Remedies for a Vibrantly Healthy Life. Welcome again, Robin Rose Bennett.
Thank you, Derica. And you have a beautiful, vibrant energy about you. It's really a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, thank you. So, Robin, can you share a little bit of your story and how you got into herbal medicine and earth teachings?
Yes, it's a question I get asked a lot, and depending upon the day, I answer it from one angle or another. So, one aspect is that I was looking for answers to my own health problems when I was late teens, about 20 years old. And I was actually living in Northern California at the time, and I went to see my very first herbalist. So, that was one aspect of it. But I also had been deeply involved in spiritual work. It's kind of a very interesting, like spiritual, psychological, emotional. I met these wonderful teachers. So I was doing that work before I was an herbalist. And what happened for me was that the herbal medicine aspect coming into my practices in my life grounded my spirituality in a very deep and beautiful way that made it made living here like rich and juicy. Whereas I think up till that point, and that took years even of entering into the herbal world, but I think up till that point, I had kind of a resistance to being fully here, and it was easier to be in the realm of spirit only and like love and transcendent joy and stuff. But what happened with bringing in the herbal medicine piece was true joy in being alive in a body on the planet incarnated with all of our challenges, with everything. And that is so rich that I'm just overflowing with wanting to share with people how they too can have this experience of kinship, right? Because I'll step back a second. I was looking for answers to, you want to talk about like an unexciting like topic, right? I was looking for answers to periodontal problems that I had been born with or that may have been environmentally caused. But what I found was, in addition to answers to that problem and many others, what I found was that I was kin with everything on the planet. And so the side effects just kind of rippled out of the dissolution of feeling isolated, an end to a sort of loneliness that I had always felt, and an appreciation of all the diversity, and that I didn't have to fit in anywhere. I had a place that I belonged in. which is something Brene Brown talks about, right? Don't try to fit in, see where you belong. And so I found that when I found that I actually belonged here, then I had that ability to help other people find that and feel that. And I was living in New York City, and so to find that kind of grounding in the midst of such a awesomely bustling city. Something a lot of people don't know is New York City is built on top of quartz crystal. So that's one reason everything is so magnified there. The pace is just, beyond. So that was a part of my story. And then I got started getting called the Green Witch of New York City.
That is so incredible. I love it. And it fits right now because as you're talking about your story, I think a lot of folks are in that like pivot point or in the
Totally.
journey of their story right now where we're having to be isolated, right? We're
Mm,
having to be just isolated by ourselves, and in there you get this loneliness feeling of being by yourself,
mhm.
but let's all kind of have this awakening moment right now that we can never be alone, right? That
Right.
we aren't. And so I'm hoping people are pivoting, hearing your story right now. And by the
Mm.
end, we'll have this understanding that
Mhm.
we are all connected and that we are
Right.
very much still connected, no matter if we're behind doors right now or not.
Right. And the journey is, as my very first teacher said, the trip from the head into the heart or head into your embodiment of it is can be a long journey. But I also find that as everything is accelerated right now, awakening is accelerated right now. People glean understanding quickly. And it's almost like we can transmit by osmosis. And I want to turn off other things so you don't have little dings from me. There we go. Sorry. Um, because it's clearly it's not only understanding that's needed, because a lot of us will have that kind of intellectual understanding of, yes, we're all connected, yes, we're all connected. But what I'm talking about in terms of earth medicine, herbs, and connecting with the earth is where you have the experience of it, and nobody can take that from you. Once you know something like that, you know it. It doesn't matter if your next door neighbor believes it or not, or thinks you're silly or foolish or what have you. It's yours.
Well said. That's beautiful. We're going to get deeper into that as we go
Okay.
along too. But can you explain for the person that has never heard of earth teachings or even
Hmm.
herbal medicine for that
Hmm.
fact? Can you explain what both of those are?
I'll do my best.
Yes.
I like to tell people when they say they don't know what herbal medicine is, I like to ask them if they like pesto, if they've ever eaten pesto. And most people say yes. It's like, well, you're an herbalist then, because you're eating this delicious thing that benefits your immune system and your respiratory system and your nervous system and your skin. Because, right, we have the garlic, well-known cardiovascular and immune strengthening wonder medicine. I just planted actually my autumn garden full of garlic. I'm so happy about that. And you have salt, which is an amazing antibacterial medicine, right? Now, I'm not saying I eat pesto for the medicine. I'm saying it's like everybody's an herbalist. They just don't realize it. They put rosemary in their, on their soup or their lamb or what have you. They're using herbs. But herbs, human beings are much younger beings on the planet than plants and trees are. They predate us by hundreds of millions of years. So where the earth, so I understand people can come to me for help, and I can give them chamomile because they're having trouble sleeping, and they don't necessarily want to know about earth connection. They just want to go to sleep, right? But what happens is the herbs themselves wake something in us. They wake something up in us. That I've watched it happen now for so many decades that I know this is not like, you don't have to already kind of be there, so to speak. I watched it with my parents. I've watched it with, with so many people. But so, let's see where to kind of weave this together. So herbal medicine, let's start with the basic thing. The foundational thing is that what we need is accessible, inexpensive, common, easy to grow in gardens or to find in the wild. Like I particularly specialize in using weeds. So the wild, abundant plants that people are, I love to go talk to garden clubs, and like it blows their mind when I say, and they'll say like, wait, I spent an hour just this morning pulling out the plant that you're telling me will help my husband's cirrhosis? Really? And the answer is yes, really. So part of us remembers this. Part of us like will have a grandmother or great grandmother. It's like my point about the plants being older than us is plant medicine, plant food, plant gifts have been part of humanity for as long as we've been here. It's a very tangible piece of our evolution. And so when you start to wake up to plant medicine, many people will say, and I said this myself back when I was first studying, you never stop studying. When I was first studying, I said, gosh, it feels like I'm remembering something. And I hear that when I hear someone say that, I feel wonderful. And I also watch how earth medicine can be as simple as, walking out to the park. Like even when I lived in Manhattan, if I would get, off center, anxious, whatever, right? Tense, aggravated about anything. Even if I put my feet, excuse me, on a tiny patch of dirt under a tree, planted in a bush in a little block length park. And when I would go downstairs, down the elevator, down the 14, 15 floors from my high rise to do that, I never, not one single time did I ever think it was going to really help. No matter how many times it worked, I never thought it was going to work. But I'd make myself go downstairs, sit on the bench, scoot off my shoes if I could, and put my feet there, like looking, perhaps a little odd, but nobody was really looking. And in minutes, something recalibrates in your nervous system when you touch earth. And now we have science behind that. We can measure electricity that when we're in a relaxed meditative state, our brain waves actually cycle at the same pace as planet Earth. Yeah. Or we can now see through science that when we put our hands in soil, we actually take in through our skin chemicals that help release more serotonin in our brains, right? Or dopamine, right? The chemicals that have to do with our, basic general happiness, right? Here we are at the Happiness Summit. So again, it can start at any level. I always tell people if all you want to do is help your sore knee, let's only talk about that. We'll get you there.
Yeah.
You're gonna get there, because that's really more what we're looking for too. Is not just the alleviation of symptoms, but a sense of a return to the wholeness that we never actually have left. But we have a lot of things, teachings, brainwashings, cultural stories that cover it up. And so that's why I think I found that the truth is it doesn't take a lot to bring people home to themselves and home to the earth. It's really not the most person who feels the most separated from nature. Those coats come off readily because it's so natural. It's just like the flow of the river. It once you're introduced to it, it happens.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Even in my own experience and friends and family and my own clients, it could be the person that is so hustle and bustle, busy, analytical, whatever. And the
Hmm.
moment I say, go take your shoes off and go walk on the grass. And they're like, that's silly, or that's like, whatever, what's this not going to work?
That's
But
not
like
going to
you
help.
said, yep. In a minute or two, they're like, they're breathing deeper, they're letting it go and they're like, oh, it's just it's who we are. Like you
Yes.
said, it can be
Mm-hmm.
instant. Some little thing, we don't need to know everything. We don't even need to know how every herb works or how we're so divinely connected. it's something that can never be unwritten. It is something who we are, right? We
That's
just,
also beautifully put. It can never be unwritten. My first love is writing, so I like the way you put that. I
yes.
do. I do. I love silence too, but I love words. I love precise use of words that really evokes truths.
Yes, the truths.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. So you wrapped it up. I think you explained what herbal medicine and earth teachings are kind of in that beautiful circle. So
So, I
that,
mean, and the herbal medicine like can be in your cup of tea, right? It can be, yeah, it can be, learning how to identify plants and gathering them, from your garden or the wild and learning to turn them into tea or food or a tincture or a syrup or, you know, right when I was a very, very young herbalist, I remember going to visit my whole family connecting in Southern California, where my first cousin and her family lived. And she got really sick, and she was so bummed out that she got sick when we all had come from far away. And I, the young herbalist, went out in the yard and I found a pine tree and I gathered the pine the way I had been taught, which is to give an offering to the tree, to ask the tree if it's all right to take some of her needles. And then I chopped up the fresh pine and I made her tea with honey and lemon. And by the next morning, she felt substantially better. And the whole family was looking at me with giant eyes. And she's like, what people often say, I can't believe it. I'm like, believe it.
that
So,
is so cool.
So that's another layer, another level that many people who don't know botanical names of herbs, right? But they like around the world, right? They say 85% of people in the world still rely primarily, if not solely, on, herbal medicine. And
Yeah.
so, this person who maybe doesn't even read or write will know which bush to go to for the baby that has the colic and which seaweed to use for the this or the that. And so I have a pretty broad range of definition of what educated means, right? Because we have a very narrow definition of what educated means in Western kind of snooty culture.
Love it.
Mhm.
I love that too, and you're right how it's intuitive. Even if we haven't done the research or don't know all the names. For example, my 2-year-old son, we planted our little herb garden. It's nothing fancy, but we
Oh,
have,
great,
you
great.
know, garden going, and some wild chives are just popping up all around these different trees I have. And I'm in the house, and my 2-year-old comes in, and he just like reeks of like onion.
Yep.
And I'm like, some things you shouldn't eat, but he knew intuitively. He snacked on the chives the whole time he was outside.
That's That's hysterical and wonderful. I love that. And so what I like to do is help marry that intuitive knowing of your 2-year-old or of my kitty cat who's next to us, with the intelligence, of the adult person, right? And so, but when we put these things together, we get a really awesome combination. Whereas how most of us have been schooled is to throw out that intuitive part,
Yeah,
right? I mean, I'm not telling people to go out and munch on every plant they see, um, but even when people worry about, their children eating this, and I'm like, we have pretty good instincts that have kept us alive on planet Earth for a long, long time, where we've gotten so overprotective and so frightened of the wild, that it's a shame because then the side effects of that are feeling like you don't belong,
right.
like everything's separate from you. And I think that's probably one of the greatest threats to our health that we have, actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. So just
yeah.
awakening more into there's this. Um, it's intuitive, but it's this source about us. There's this infinite information that is us that kind of knows. It
Right.
knows,
Well,
right?
it does. What I say is the body is the most wise part of a human being, and the body always tells the truth, which can be uncomfortable, can be unwelcome, it can be inconvenient, right? But the body will always tell the truth. And if we were able to just completely go into body knowing, yes, we would know every plant that was good to use and not good to use, or would make you throw up, or whatever, right? But we don't have to only rely on that. Again, it's not, here's another like precept of healing the way that I practice in the wise woman tradition, or sometimes I like to call it the wise wild woman tradition. And it's not only for women, it's for all genders, however defined, however self-defined by anyone. But it's the, I kind of, I got off on that and I forgot what I was actually about to say. But I do want to,
Intuition and then using your intuition.
body wisdom.
Yes, please.
Yes, and it brings me back to the other thing that I wanted to say was, so when a person in a traditional culture is gathering from this plant, from this bush, from this tree, it's not that they're guessing, right? It's that there's an oral tradition where your mother or your grandmother or your grandfather showed you this plant and the best time to harvest it and the best way to prepare it and whether to use it fresh or dried. And right, so when people hear all that, then they can start to get overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I don't want to make a mistake. But the thing is that you can work so simply and get such stupendous results. You don't have to know everything to start, you just have to know something. And in terms of the body knowing, when you take that first sip of your medicine, if you listen, if you feel your body, you will know if this is good for you. Excuse me. Maybe I need a little water.
Okay.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. I think we can all nod and agree here as you're talking that we we we've all drank and ate something and we instantly got a yes or a no, right? We all have got
Yes.
something
Mm-hmm.
where it's like,
Yep.
my body didn't like that, or give me more. Like it's this subtle yet instant clarification that our body gives us with
Yeah. So when
everything.
clients come for help to the teaching clinic, sometimes they're like, "What do you mean? How does it taste? What difference does that make? Just tell me what to do." And I'm like, "No, I can send you to herbalists who'll do that for you. That's not how I work. I want to help you." That was what I was trying to get to, is when you start to tune to your body wisdom, you become your own best healer and your own best teacher, because you feel and learn that you can trust your senses. You're literally your senses. So
Yes. Yes.
things will taste good to you when you need them, that will taste bad to you when you don't.
That's
Uh,
so true.
Yeah, and even I first learned that from animals, because when somebody would say, "Oh, my cat's having a heart trouble, can we give her something?" And I'd be like, I don't know, but I know things that wouldn't harm. So I'd make different teas and put them out, and the animal would sniff, sniff, sniff. Up, that's the one, and lap it up. And so I started to watch that. And I watched it with 2-year-olds, especially 2, 3, 4 year olds. They'll, after a short time, if like their parent was apprenticing with me, they would be like, "No, mommy, I don't, not that one. I need that one." And they point to the herb shelf, and it blew our minds. I mean, that's a kind of a wonderful thing about herbal medicine. It still blows my mind. All these decades into it, it still amazes me in the
Yes.
best way.
And it is so powerful. And like, I want to piggyback on what you said earlier is that we're all herbalists. We truly are natural herbalists when we,
Mm-hmm.
we don't recognize that even in our foods and our soups and our teas and our anything, there's herbs in there. There's
Mm-hmm.
most of it, 85%, right, of us where you're using herbs, whether we're conscious of it or not, our body is still serving and eating from this planet. And it's helping
and
our
not and
body.
not just our body, but our minds and
Mm,
hearts and souls are being nourished by this as well.
yes.
Like, there's your 2-year-old eating chives, as if he or she,
He.
as if he opened a book and read, "Oh, anything in this smelly sulfuric family is going to support my respiratory system and my immune system in this, time when it's particularly important,
Mm-hmm.
right, to do that, right? We're recording this in the time of COVID. And unfortunately, it does not seem that that time will have passed by the time this is actually being listened
Yeah.
to. I think that is rather unlikely. So there's just a tip for everybody that eating these smelly onion, garlic family foods. One thing I tell everyone to do right now for their immune system as good preventative medicine is to make garlic honey. Take fresh garlic, chop it up. It depends however strong you like it. Some, you want to get your notebook, good student.
Yes. Get your
Um,
pen and paper, everyone.
okay. I also have certain things on my blog and my website, these recipes,
Okay.
but yes, get your pen and paper. Um, for those who still use pen and paper, like me,
Right.
and apparently like you. Um, yeah, because it's not an either or. We can use technology and pen and paper,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
We can even use pharmaceuticals if and when we need them and herbal medicine, right?
Yeah.
So we just, yeah. So back to garlic honey.
Yes.
So you would take a clean, dry jar. And I always tell people when you're making medicines, if you're kind of new at it, you make a small amount because your medicines get better. Even if you do exactly the same thing, they get better over time as you deepen your relationship with what you're doing. I don't know why, but I do know it's true. So, so depending on how strong you want, how I do it is I often will put just fresh cloves in a jar, fill it about a third full, and then cover it 100% to the tippy top of whatever size jar it was with honey, good quality honey, and then cap it. And an important tip for me to tell you, so I don't get angry emails, is that put it on a saucer because what will happen is the gases in the garlic will bubble up and cause that honey to kind of come bloop, bloop, bloop over the top a little bit. So you don't want to get garlic honey everywhere because it's pretty stinky. It's a wonderful, wonderful medicine. So if you want it stronger, you chop it more. If you want it really strong, you could press it, right? So that's up to the individual, and you might want to make it a couple different ways and see, right?
Ooh,
But
yeah.
this is a wonderful medicine to take just either a little bit of the honey or a bit of the clove and have a little bit every single day. But if you were sick, you would take more and you would want more.
Okay.
And
Do you,
that I just take by the spoonful. I don't usually like, I'm not certainly not going to put garlic honey in tea. Maybe some people would, but I'm not going to do that. But I do put it into sauces on food that can be
ooh,
very nice. You know, a honey garlic in your sauce over your vegetables or your chicken or your whatever you eat.
yeah, that
Um,
sounds delicious.
and it
Could,
is.
how long do you let this sit?
So here's the thing. It will start to be effective in 24 hours. However, the longer you let it sit, the more effective it is. So I've definitely had people say, everyone in my office was sick and I have my garlic honey and I didn't get what everybody was getting. As soon as the pandemic was spreading, it was the first thing I published was, hey, make yourself some of this. It's not the only thing you can do, but it's an accessible, inexpensive, simple thing that you can do. And most people like it. But here's a great little tale about body wisdom and such. So mm, I had a partner who really did not like garlic honey. Like he was so into the herbs, but not garlic honey. Wouldn't have it. So okay, fine. There's plenty of other herbs. If you don't like it, don't use it. But one time he got a really severe sinus infection. He was kind of prone to those, but this was a particularly severe one. And I found a garlic honey that I had forgotten about in the pantry, like behind some other jars. And it was so old, like a few years old, that all the garlic had kind of dissolved and there was just like honey and liquid. It was so strong. I opened the jar and I'm like backing away from it. I couldn't go near it. He loved it. Okay, this person who didn't eat even like normal garlic honey couldn't get enough of it. Couldn't get enough of it and took it to help cure this sinus infection because when he needed it, he liked it, which is
Wow,
it's just stunning. It was just absolutely stunning.
that's incredible. And you would think he wouldn't, but the stronger he liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go near him for days, but that's, That's the way it was. So,
and that fits now too because we're into winter,
yep,
and so and that's kind of what we're going to
yep,
end with here is, those that are worried about getting a cold, a virus, whether any virus
mhm,
going around, COVID or
right.
not. But that's one of the tips here to that's
Is
something
your
to
garlic
know.
honey, right? I
Yep.
was just working with a beautiful woman, an elder who had COVID and was really sick, really frail. And I was working with her long distance. Well, I guess everybody's working virtually now anyway, but I didn't even know her or get to see her or anything, but I just loved her. And to make a long story short, she's doing very well now. And we worked with herbs that she had a sense of relationship with. This is a very kind of very straight, church going, woman. And no, I don't know anything about herbs, but I brought up a couple of herbs that I thought maybe she would recognize culturally. And she did. And she's doing so much better that now she's willing to take some herbs for the ongoing symptoms she's left with of shortness of breath. And she said she was going to make a garlic honey. I just wanted to share that. That this virus, the COVID virus, is manifesting so many different ways. Each person has to be really worked with individually, but in general terms, in terms of supporting and strengthening our immune system, we really want to look at good nourishment on all levels. So not just physical nourishment, but how are we resting? How are we in relationship? Do we have relationships that drain us of energy? We're all really being called, I feel, we're being called to live with more alignment and more coherence with who we authentically really are. And when we do that, that literally biologically strengthens our nervous system. And when we strengthen our nervous system, my experience, every other system benefits. It's really, to me, health comes down to the nervous system. And well, we know this is, it's not a time when the stress is just going to go away, right? We can have successes, we can have great things happen, but this is the time we're in, and it's super creative and super juicy and asking us to, to contribute to, I call it, I'll tell you, Derica, I call it the evolutionary chaos of now. The evolutionary chaos of now. So
So true.
how do we respond to the evolutionary chaos of now influences how our immune systems are able to even, even if everything's out there, every cold virus, every flu virus, to be able to not get sick or to heal more readily when we do get sick. Because I don't think there is one magic thing that keeps you, in other words, when you get ill, it's giving your immune system a chance to get stronger, to work. But nourishment is really key. So it can be like dark green leafy things will strengthen your immune system. Things like stinging nettle infusion, um, things like dandelion greens, which also strengthen your kidneys, which get a little extra workout in winter. I mean, of course, different people are in different climates and so on, but I'll be generally speaking here. Root medicine can be important in the fall and the winter. Like we're in a transitional moment in culture where many of us in transitional moment in life personally, and we're in a transitional moment in the seasons. And that's a time that people tend to be more vulnerable. So I like to think of taking transitional tonics. So one of the things like what I'm drinking is some astragalus root. It's quite sweet and tasty. It's a very well-known Chinese medicine for, um, it's not really stimulating the immune system as much as it's strengthening it. And it's especially indicated where there's been deep depletion,
Mm.
which sometimes we're aware of and sometimes we're not aware of, right? Um, but I think it's mostly I put the astragalus root in my soups. That's easy. I just happen to want to try it in some tea, and I'm drinking it with some rose hips, which is another great herb for immune system, for strengthening the kidneys, for helping the liver, because our immune system really isn't one system. So there's a couple of ways to describe this, but ever so briefly, I'm going to say this. We have our innate immune system, which could be even things like the acid mantle on our skin, that's designed by nature to help repel pathogens. One of the things we do is we wash it off with too much soap. So this is something people can do. Use less soap. It's going to actually strengthen your immune system.
I'm writing it down,
Um,
guys.
huh?
So I'm
What'd you say?
writing it down, everyone. Write it down.
Write it down. And if you're, when you do use soap, use a very natural soap, because what you put on your skin is like you're putting it into your body. Um, and so we have this innate immune system, but again, it has to do with our level of happiness. It has to do with our level of kind of that aura. The auric field is really the first layer of the immune system, in a sense, right? Because and I know, right? If we're unhappy, we've just had a fight with our beloved or something like that, we know we're more vulnerable,
Right.
right? It makes sense. So we want to strengthen, do things that give us joy. That's a part of our innate immune system. And then we have the acquired immunity, which is what most people think of when they're thinking of immune system. They're thinking of the anti-infective or lymphatic part of the immune system, right? But that's the part that kind of comes in, learns to recognize certain bacteria or fungi or viruses, and then creates brilliantly, creates actual protective cells to either engulf and eat those pathogens or to break them down and move them out through the lymph system. It's our bodies are miraculous.
Yes.
So in terms of infectious kind of things, one thing I know a lot of people know about is echinacea, and many people call it echinacea, either way. One thing I want to share with you about that plant, it's a beautiful healing plant. It works best when it's paired with one other plant that, because it's a sort of general systemic immune stimulant. Am I being too detailed here? Or
No,
is
I
it
think we're good.
helpful?
I think
Okay.
this is very good.
Okay, so it's a general systemic immune stimulant. And so if you want to apply it to a certain kind of infection, like let's say because you're concerned about respiratory, with a respiratory infection, right, bronchitis, say for example, if you were going to use the echinacea, because many people just grab it because they read about it or what have you, you want to pair it with something specific for strengthening the respiratory system. So that might be the white pine that I had shown you. Or it might be, I have my back to the woods and it's bear time of day and I heard some sounds behind me. So if you see me turning around, I'm just making sure
Okay, and
that
I'll
I'm
keep
not
an
going
eye
to
out.
be surprised by a black bear, which would be kind of wonderful, but also I'd want to know. Um, or you might pair that echinacea with something like mullein leaf. Mullein. So now I can make a nice distinction for our listeners or our viewers, which is this. I would only use echinacea when I'm ill, when I have an infection I'm fighting. The mullein I would use both if I had bronchitis, but okay, it's leaves falling. It's
Okay.
cool. Okay. Um, but the mullein I would use only to strengthen my lungs and bronchia and
Okay.
keep them healthy. So that's another kind of layer of medicine. And I think that that's the kind of layer that people can feel comfortable to do on their own, right? So if you're not familiar with herbal medicine and you're ill, then it's smart to get guidance,
Yes.
right? And not like straight off the internet and not know who you're reading. Like and actually this is a good moment for me to say on my website, I have tons of free information at robinrosebennett.com. I have resources listed of places to both learn and buy good quality herbs where people are harvesting in with respect for the earth and not just taking, um, and information about my books and CDs and so on and so forth. But one more thing, so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Um, and I have a YouTube channel
Ooh.
where I teach about one plant at a time. I have a few different things. I have my poetry on there, but I have plant medicine videos, and I think I have two on mullein, for example, showing people the plant, showing oftentimes how to harvest it or how to think about it or what season you gather it in. Each
Yes.
plant has its own thing because I kind of just go with the flow with, when I'm doing
Yes.
it. But also since the time of COVID, I started making a weekly video that I'm just winding down on now as I give attention to some other things here. But so there's the Wednesday videos as well with what I call big little herbal tips.
Ooh. Love
Yeah,
that.
and big little herbal tips and big little life tips. Right.
This is
Yeah.
perfect. And I will make sure everything that Robin just went over now, there will be links in the email where you found this video. So you'll be able to go to our website, to YouTube, and different places. For any of us that are just needing that more guidance and more clarity, I think we all should go to an expert like this to
Thank you.
just make
And
sure
may
we're
I?
doing the right things.
And I
Yeah,
just want to show you my babies. Okay, here is the gift of healing herbs.
beautiful.
Whoops. Am I in there?
Beautiful. Yep.
Okay, the gift of healing herbs, plant
Yeah.
medicines and home remedies for a vibrantly healthy life. And this book is Healing Magic, a Greenwich Guidebook to Conscious Living. And it is the 10th anniversary edition. And this book is filled with deceptively simple practices for how to reconnect with the earth, how to re-engage mystery, moon magic and women's wisdom, herbal magic, uh, lots of good things gleaned from my years of learning and sharing and
That's
getting responses from people. So, and the gift of healing herbs has hundreds of simple recipes because I know for me, I have to make it easy to take care of myself. So the recipes are super user friendly. And there's an herb I want to show you, Derica, because I know you have it out west too. This is, um, I call her grandmother cedar. And this is a beautiful, whatever kind of grandma cedar grows where you live. This is an herb that's beautiful to dry and burn or to make a strong tea of and put in your bathtub. I say she helps with divine alignment. She helps you feel safe living in a body, walking on the earth. And a lot of us need that medicine. So this is the beautiful grandmother cedar. Um, And though we do use her internally, this is not as safe a plant as all the other plants I've mentioned today. So I'm not going to go into detail about that internal use. When I'm talking external, even chopping up the fresh plant and making an oil, infusing it in olive oil makes a beautiful ceremonial oil.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely healing tip there for all of us. I see that plant growing everywhere, so I'm like, yes, I'm
Oh,
gonna get some of
beautiful,
that. Absolutely.
beautiful.
I see that
It's getting dark.
your sun is
Yeah.
setting, and so
Yes.
woo, we got your moon going, and so which is good. I'm just going to recap here for those for everything that we talked about today, and this is replay this, you guys.
Okay.
You're going to absorb this, but just kind of the things that are going to let's say be a threat to our immune system are just the things that drain you, the
Mm-hmm.
stress, the things you put in your body that feels just kind of icky, not right. Let's just tune in a little bit more to those things and avoid them and rid them as much as we can. And then tune into those things that are really good for us and helpful to our body, our emotions, our soul, right? And a lot of
Mm.
those you're going to find on robinrosebennett.com. And so we'll talk more in those links. Robin, do you have a little bit of are you giving away also a free gift?
I am. I
Okay.
am. So if you would like, because I don't know how anyone stays sane and centered without meditation in 2020. So I have a beautiful meditation called Ocean Meditation, and it's a 16-minute relaxation. And I'm offering it to you as a free gift. If you would like, you will go to my website And the coupon will be happiness in honor of the summit. And you will be able to have a free download of my ocean meditation CD, which I made originally for my dad when my mom was very sick before she passed, because the ocean is his very favorite thing in the world. And so this was a way for him to get replenished in that difficult time. And one day he said to me, you know, honey, this is too good just for me. You should give this to other people too. So I made a meditation CD, and now, of course, it's available also as an MP3, right? Yeah.
Beautiful. I love how it came from your love to your family and now out into the world. Thank you
Mm.
again so much, Robin, for your time, your herbal wisdom, your wise woman earth teachings you just shared with all of us.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for that.
And I have one more thing, which I just keep getting to tell people to eat orange food.
Ooh,
Eat
okay.
yams, eat squash, eat orange is really good for the immune system.
Mm. No, I love that. And usually it's growing right now. Like if I think about
There
the
you go.
orange foods, that's why
Yep.
they're here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Bake yourself, or bake yourself some squash, or make yourself some soup, and that's really supportive of your health.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, there's so many nuggets of gold in this video.
Thanks,
Thank you
Erica. Thanks for
again.
you and what you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you, viewers, who all tuned in to us today. I hope you feel that enhanced vibration and wisdom upon us. And if you love this recipe, then you're going to love the next ingredient as well. Everyone, keep smiling and keep enjoying Earth. Bye
And take
bye.
lots of good deep breaths.
Yes.
Much love.
Bye bye.
Bye.